Now, Representative Ilhan Omar is again being accused of anti-Semitism after she called Stephen Miller, one of Donald Trump's advisors on immigration, a white supremacist. I'm sorry, white nationalist. Let me be clear. She called him a white nationalist. All right. Now, she also tweeted that the fact that he still has influence on policy and political appointments is an outrage. And in fact, after Kirstjen Nielsen had been forced out, Stephen Miller now has unprecedented control over Trump's immigration proposals. Now, here's the thing. Calling him a white nationalist should not be a controversial statement. Stephen Miller is both white, and his policies reflect nationalism. I'm just saying. Look, even Stephen Miller's own family have said something similar to that. They're like, what are you doing? Like, you are literally doing to other people, to migrants, to immigrants, what America did to us when our family and many Jewish people had attempted to come over to America during World War II and were turned away. He seems to have forgotten that little bit of history. So now, of course, like I said, because Miller is Jewish, Omar is immediately accused of being anti-Semitic. And of course, here comes the right wing to go and continue that smear. Let's start with Representative Lee Zeldin. Now, he says, quote, "During my time in Congress before Ilhan Omar got here, I didn't once witness another member target Jewish people like this with the name-calling and other personal attacks. In 2019, though, for Ilhan Omar, this is just called Monday." Now, let me tell you something, Mr. Zeldin. It's not name-calling if it's true. He is a white nationalist. He does agree with white nationalists. And so, where's the lie? Where's the lie? Stephen Miller pushes anti-immigrant, white nationalist, even white supremacist messaging. And again, he forgot that back in World War II, the same kind of rhetoric and actions that he's using against asylum seekers and migrants led to the deaths of Jewish asylum seekers back then. They had to return to Germany, and they ended up, most times, in concentration camps. Again, he's doing sort of the same thing to migrants, sending them back to the countries where they could be killed by violence, gang violence, or political upheaval. They are running from violence. So the fact that, of course, the right wing has the balls to call her, even though she's rightly pointing out another fact, an anti-Semite, is ridiculous. But of course, they do it because she's a Muslim, right? She's an easy target of these attacks. And of course, thanks to the vilification that she has been getting from a lot of the, many in the right wing and some in the left wing, not really left wing, I should say some in the centrist Democrats, has led to death threats against her. I reported recently that 2 days ago, a New York man was arrested on charges of threatening Omar by threatening to put a bullet in her effing head. Where were the Democrats? Where were the Democrats? Were they going to defend their freshman member? No. AOC did, of course. And other progressives did, but not the majority of the Democratic Party. They instead voted to condemn Ilhan Omar, and I wonder, it makes me wonder if they're going to defend Stephen Miller on this. Remember, Stephen Miller is the guy that is behind the family separation policy at the border. He even said, let's close the entire U.S.-Mexico border. Donald Trump's worst policies on immigration were hatched by Stephen Miller. But no, they're probably either going to ignore this or at worst they're going to defend Stephen Miller. Say, oh, you can't do that. Ilhan Omar, we will condemn you again. And we will possibly consider censure. Ridiculous. Now, more disgusting attacks here from the right wing. This is, let's see. Trying to figure out where this quote is from. This is Matt Wolking. No, that's not. I don't know who to do this quote here from, so I'll skip that. But Matt Wolking, Deputy Communications Director for the President's re-election campaign, tweeted this, quote, "He's Jewish and Ilhan Omar is a racist anti-Semite." And then there was another tweet here. "I see that the head of the Farrakhan fan club, Ilhan Omar, took a short break from spewing her usual anti-Semitic bigotry to accuse a Jewish man of being a white nationalist because she apparently has no shame." That's horrible. So that's coming from the right wing. And why am I going after the Democrats then? Well, look, we expect this from the right wing, right? But we expect Democrats to support other Democrats. But they're not there. And you know what? They instead join the right wing in vilifying a progressive over her statements about AIPAC. Which again, telling you, she criticized AIPAC for being a lobbying group that influences using money in politics. Well, that's what a lobbying group is supposed to do. They influence politicians on behalf of special interest groups. She called it out and said, look, that's what it is. I don't want to support AIPAC. I don't want to be a dual, I don't want to have a dual allegiance to a lobbyist group or another country, or a lobbyist group representing another country and the United States of America. I don't want to do that. She wasn't saying anybody else does. She just says she didn't want to. So, but there's more. Now, Nancy Pelosi, by the way, sided with the right wing to attack Omar. And now you have Christian Ziegler, vice chairman of the Florida GOP, using this to urge his Jewish friends to, quote, join the Jexodus movement, which encouraged Jews to leave the Democratic Party. Again, because the Democrats aren't fighting back and defending their member against these ridiculous charges, you have the right wing getting more and more vicious and more emboldened to actually do even more smears. And, oh, look, well, obviously you have one person in your party that is an alleged anti-Semite. So we're just going to, encourage all the Jews to leave the Democratic Party. As if the Republican Party isn't at all tainted by allegations of true anti-Semitism. Again, the president himself called marchers in Charlottesville, the ones that were chanting, "The Jews will not replace us." Very fine people. Oh, there's fine people on both sides. Evangelical Christians, by the way, voted 98% for Donald Trump. Jeff, you understand they support Israel, right? They only support Israel and Jewish people because they believe that it's going to lead to the end times. You know what happens in the end times? Everyone dies, except for the Christians. All the Jews die. That does not work out very well for Jewish people. So good luck with your Jexodus. It might as well be about as successful as walk away, right? Now, these attacks on Omar did get some pushback, not from the Democratic Party itself, but from economist David Rothschild, saying this, quote, Representative Zeldin is using his Jewishness to provide cover for a white nationalist regime that stokes hatred and terror for Jews and many other peoples in a U.S. that until President Trump felt so safe and secure for us. We have another one. Perry Gershon, a Democratic businessman who, full disclosure, lost a race to Zeldin in 2018, said, quote, inappropriate accusations of anti-Semitism masks the ugliness of the real thing. It's true. But no other word from any of the other Democrats who accused her of being anti-Semitic, who went after her and said, oh, you're using anti-Semitic tropes, and forced her to apologize. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You really helped embolden these right-wingers who, again, have no room to talk about actual anti-Semitism, especially Donald Trump. I want to give you a couple quotes from him, who said, special thanks to Representative Omar of Minnesota. Oh, I forgot. She doesn't like Israel. I forgot. I'm so sorry. No, you didn't forget. He was talking to members in attendance of a recent speech, which included casino magnate and prominent Republican donor Sheldon Adelson. Now, what's funny about Trump using this is that, again, this is the guy who uses anti-Semitic tropes constantly. Recently, Trump referred to Israel's leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, as, quote, your prime minister, in an address to a group of Jewish American supporters in Las Vegas. That would be a trope. That would basically accusing Jewish Americans of having a dual loyalty to another country, to Israel. Your president. No, not your prime minister, because that's a different country. Jewish Americans are just Americans. Again, trope, right? Then he also went on to suggest that his Jewish supporters should, quote, explain to some of your people in business and finance that they should stop opposing tariffs. And I'll give you the exact quote here. Quote, some of your people in finance. That's more tropes. You want to talk about who's anti-Semitic? It's not Ilhan Omar. It's Donald Trump, the Republican Party, who, by the way, they want to start a war with Iran. That war with Iran would be disastrous for Israel. But again, the reason that I'm mad at the Democrats is, again, we expect Republicans to be horrible and anti-Semitic. However, the Democrats, they let this go on. They let these attacks happen, and sometimes even join in with the right wing in attacking their own people. In this case, Ilhan Omar, who was deeply progressive. Also, they can make AIPAC, the right-wing lobbyist group that represents the right-wing government of Israel, happy. It just kind of shows you how out of step with the rest of the Democratic Party, who is younger and who is critical of Israel, especially because of their attacks in Gaza and what they're doing to Palestinians in the West Bank. It just shows you how disconnected the leadership is with the base of the party. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.